endless hum of modern life, we often seek refuge, a return to nature, to silence, to a place where the ancient rhythm of the earth can soothe a weary soul. For Leo and Chloe, a young couple from the bustling sprawl of Los Angeles, refuge was found in the breathtaking, majestic expanse of Redwood National Park in Northern California. They were city dwellers, but adventurers at heart. Their plan was simple, a 3-day, 2-night backpacking trip deep into the primeval forest, far from cell service, far from the demands of their careers. Just them, the towering giants, and the promise of serene solitude. They had chosen a lesser-known trail, the evergreen labyrinth, hoping for an untroubled escape. Asterisk, their first day was everything they dreamed of. The air, crisp and alive with the scent of pine and damp earth, filled their lungs. The silence, so profound it was almost audible, was a welcome balm. They set up camp by a crystal-clear stream, nestled amongst redwoods so ancient they seemed to whisper secrets of millennia. As the sun dipped below the colossal canopy, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple, they cooked dinner over a crackling fire, sharing stories, laughter, and the comfortable intimacy of shared adventure. The forest, vast and beautiful, felt like a benevolent guardian, but even then, a subtle unease began to stir. It started small, unexplained snaps of twigs when no animal was visible, a feeling of being watched just beyond the periphery of the firelight. Chloe, ever the more sensitive, mentioned a faint, almost melodic sound on the why-not bird song, nor the rustling of leaves. Something deeper, something harmonious yet unsettling. Leo, ever the pragmatist, brushed it off as the wind playing tricks in the towering branches. They settled into their sleeping bags, the soft glow of their headlamps soon extinguished, leaving them enveloped in the profound, consuming darkness of the redwood forest. Asterisk, the first night passed, undisturbed by anything substantial, yet colored by fragmented, disturbing dreams that neither could fully articulate. But the second day brought an undeniable shift. The evergreen labyrinth lived up to its name. The trail, clearly marked on their map, seemed to twist and turn unexpectedly. Landmarks they remembered passing vanished. Familiar clearings morphed into alien landscapes. They found themselves walking for hours in what felt like circles. The towering redwoods, once awe-inspiring, now felt oppressive, their sheer scale disorienting, their uniform appearance making navigation a terrifying game of chance. Chloe's earlier melodic sound returned, clearer this time. It was a low, resonant humming, a wordless, ancient song that seemed to come from the very bark of the trees, vibrating through the soles of their feet. It was beautiful, yet profoundly unnerving. Asterisk, as afternoon bled into evening, their frustration turned to fear. Their GPS signal was completely lost. Their compass spun wildly. They were utterly, irrevocably lost. They decided to make camp, hoping to regain their bearings with the morning light. This second campsite, however, was different. It felt wrong. There was an unnatural cold that clung to the air, even by the warmth of their fire. The snapping twigs, the feeling of being watched, they intensified. Chloe pointed out something horrifying. On the bark of a massive redwood, just outside the perimeter of their camp, she found a series of fresh carvings. Not initials, not typical trail markers, but symbols. Ancient, angular, almost runic, resembling stretched, elongated human figures. And below them, a single etched phrase, "She waits." Leo, ever the protector, tried to rationalize. "Maybe it's an old, forgotten cult," he said, his voice lacking its usual conviction. But the silence that followed, broken only by the incessant humming, was heavy with the weight of something far older, far more primal than any cult. That night, they huddled together in their tent, the fire a dwindling comfort against the encroaching darkness. They could hear the whispers now, faint at first, then growing louder, surrounding their tent, speaking in a language that sounded like wind through dry bones. A woman's voice, melodious yet terrifying, seemed to be calling one of their names. Asterisk, day 3. The sun tried to pierce the canopy, but the redwood forest refused to let the light in. The humming had grown into a physical vibration, a low-frequency roar that made their teeth ache. Chloe was the first to notice the change in the trees themselves. They weren't just redwoods anymore. As they frantically tried to find the trail, they realized the bark of the trees was shifting. Running symbols they had seen before were now everywhere, etched into every trunk, every branch. And then the smell hit them. Not pine, not damp earth, but the sweet, cloying scent of decaying flowers and old, stagnant blood. They They stumbled upon a clearing that wasn't on any map. In the center stood the oldest redwood they had ever seen. Its trunk so massive it looked like a wall of living stone, and at its base were the shoes. Hundreds of pairs of hiking boots, weathered, moss-covered, and empty. A century of missing hikers gathered in one silent, terrifying collection. Asterisk, the whispers were no longer in their heads. They were coming from the tree. The voice of the woman, melodious and ancient, didn't want them to leave. It wanted them to stay. Leo realized with a soul-crushing horror that the she-wait's carving wasn't a warning from a cult. It was a statement of fact. The forest was a single, predatory organism. The redwoods weren't just trees. They were the teeth of something that lived deep beneath the tectonic plates of California. Leo tried to grab Chloe and run, but his feet wouldn't move. He looked down and saw that the moss, the beautiful green moss, had already begun to weave around his ankles, threading into his skin like emerald needles. Chloe wasn't screaming. She was staring at the great tree, her eyes glazing over, her mouth beginning to hum that same ancient melody. She wasn't afraid anymore. She was being integrated. Asterisk, the last thing Leo felt was a profound, terrifying peace. He understood now. The solitude they had sought was finally theirs. They wouldn't be going back to Los Angeles. They wouldn't be checking their phones. They were now part of the evergreen labyrinth. When the park rangers finally found their abandoned car a month later, they searched the trail for weeks. They found the tent. They found their gear neatly packed. But they found no footprints, no struggle, just a new young redwood standing side by side in a clearing that wasn't there the day before. And if you stand very still in that part of the forest when the wind dies down, you can still hear them two voices humming a song of eternal silent growth. Asterisk.